Welcome, traveler. Tonight, we walk barefoot along the warm banks of the Nile. The air carries the scent of damp clay, crushed papyrus, and a curious blend of lotus oil and goat. You are in Thebes, over 3,000 years ago. Your roof is made of dry straw, your walls of cracked mud, and your future already whispers in your grandmother's ear, though she hasn't told you yet. You were born on a sweltering night, when even the breeze refused to stir. The stars hung heavy in the sky, and the geese were annoyingly awake. The women of the village surrounded you with damp cloths, taking turns to care for you. A gray, grumpy cat watched with that piercing gaze only Egyptian cats possess. In the back of the room, your grandmother, Aunt Satsebek, murmured prayers to Taweret, the hippo-headed goddess with a mother's heart. The first words you heard were, "It was to be expected," followed by a muffled laugh. Being a midwife runs in the family here. And you, with your dark eyes and clenched fists, arrived as if destined to be nothing else. Before you slip into the silence of the night, if this moment touched you even lightly, consider liking the video and subscribing, but only if it feels right. Share in the comments, where are you now? What time has the world outside slowed down? It would mean a lot. Now, dim the lights, let the fan hum its steady whisper, and come with us. Let's begin tonight's journey together. You grow up surrounded by women, aunts, neighbors, cousins who flow in and out of your home like the walls are made of breeze. They speak softly, balance jars on their heads, and know everything happening in the village, especially what's left unsaid. You learn from them before you even learn to speak. Your mother is gentle, but your grandmother is the one in charge. Aunt Satsebek's hands know every curve of a pregnant body. She says the womb has its own rhythm, and rushing what's growing is futile. When a woman is about to give birth, she closes the windows, lights myrrh incense, and speaks to the baby as if it could reply. Your home always smells of something: burnt leaves, sweat, fresh bread, or placenta. You don't find it strange anymore. There's a shelf full of jars with contents you've learned not to question. One holds crocodile fat, another clay mixed with wine and crushed shell. For difficult passages, your grandmother says, her tone leaving no room for argument. At 4, you carry cloths. At 5, you understand contractions, even without knowing the word. At 6, you hold the hand of a young woman weeping softly on a mat, sensing something vast beyond your grasp. You love market afternoons, not for figs or clay toys, but because that's where your grandmother observes. She doesn't walk, she investigates. She studies bellies, listens to coughs, feels pulses. She asks about back pain, odd cravings, missed cycles. When a woman hesitates, she already knows. Another baby is coming. Historians still debate whether Egyptian midwives received formal training, or if knowledge was passed down through generations, as it seems with you. At night, you sleep in a corner of the same room where someone may have given birth hours earlier. Your mat is thin, but you love the sound of crickets and the purring cat that insists on sleeping at your feet. They say cats guard dreams. You believe it, especially since he meows whenever you have a nightmare. Listening to your grandmother's stories, you learn that not every birth comes with a cry. Some arrive in silence, with eyes that don't open, with mothers who don't return from their journey. She only mentions these when she thinks you're asleep. You pretend you are, but you hear everything. One day, while playing with shells by the river, you see something you'll never forget. A woman, pale and gasping, carried by 2 others. They pass without noticing you. Your grandmother hurries after them, basket in hand, her face serious. A pang hits your chest, fear perhaps, or overwhelming curiosity. From that moment, something shifts in you. You don't just want to watch, you want to be part of it. The next morning, Aunt Satsebek gives you your first real task: boil water. You do it with the solemnity of lighting a temple fire. When she says it's the best water she's ever boiled, you believe her. You mentally note the amount of wood, the exact moment the bubbles form, the smell of the smoke. Some days, nothing happens. You and your mother weave cloth to the sound of neighbors chatting about the heat, the harvest, or the latest village squabble. You enjoy these moments, the slowness of life, the breeze carrying the scent of wet earth through the door. But you also know someone could knock urgently at any moment, and everything would change. One quiet afternoon, you find a small amulet on the ground, a tiny figure of Taweret, teeth bared, breasts full. You clean it carefully, wrap it in cloth, and tuck it under your mat. It will stay with you for years. You're not a midwife yet, but the village is starting to see you as one. Deep down, you're beginning to feel the sweet, inevitable weight of it too. Waking early becomes a habit, not because anyone told you to, but because the rooster's cries and the shameless sun rouse you at the same hour every day. The Nile is still cloaked in thin mist when you rise. The village yawns with you. While men prepare fishing nets and children chase goats, you quietly wash cloths. Your grandmother remains strong, though her knees now complain. She says old age is just the body announcing its wisdom or laziness. It's hard to tell. Even with creaking bones, she visits homes, tending to swollen bellies, sore feet, and frayed tempers. You go with her, now carrying a clay tablet, scratching notes with your finger, names of teas, pain schedules, moon phases. You begin to understand that birth follows no script. Each body tells a new story. Some women sing through contractions, others nod silently. Some curse their husbands. Some have no husbands. Some fear death, others fear life. On one visit, you stop at the home of a woman named Neferu, 8 months pregnant, eating only bread dipped in weak beer. She says the baby likes it. You note it down, trying to look professional despite wanting to laugh. Neferu's yellow cat, Amun, stares at you like he knows too much. While your grandmother examines her belly, you sit in the corner, watching, trying to see what she sees. On the way back, she asks, "Did you notice the color of her tongue?" You didn't. She smiles. Learning to see what no one else sees, that's being a midwife. The next week, another home, another kind of pain. A young woman named Hui is early in her pregnancy but carries sadness in her shoulders. Her belly is barely visible, but her eyes have already given up on something. Your grandmother says little, just touches her wrist gently, hands her a tea of bitter leaves, and says the baby hears more than we think. On the way back, you stop at the market. Thebes' market is loud, hot, and always a bit funny. Someone selling blessed sand as if it were incense. A man shouts that his garlic cures scorpion stings and hangovers. Another hawks magic clay to keep husbands home. Your grandmother just snorts. If that worked, no one would birth alone. But she buys lotus root, dried lemons, and juniper oil. As a gift, she gives you a small wooden spoon for stirring potions. Yes, potions, because no one calls them medicine. They're always a touch more mystical than practical. Historians still debate whether these concoctions were effective or if their power lay in ritual. In practice, they work. At night, by the lamplight, you mix ingredients while your grandmother watches with tired but sharp eyes. You learn that a tea's scent changes with the mother's state, that a recipe must be stirred in silence to keep its strength, that the words you whisper while brewing can heal or harm depending on your tone. Once, you accidentally use too much of a root. The tea turns too bitter. The woman spits it out and glares. Your grandmother smooths it over, thanks her, and later, alone, says, "Mistakes are part of it, but only once per plant." You're becoming a reference. Children call you the herb pot girl. Mothers ask if you can be trusted alone. A few skeptical fathers grumble, but they accept you in the end. A midwife is a midwife, and you're becoming one. One humid night, you're called urgently. A woman went into labor mid-bath. You run, hands shaking. Your grandmother hands you the basket and says, "Go ahead, I'll catch up." You swallow hard and go. The house is chaos. The woman screams. Her mother cries. A man tries to help but only gets in the way. You ask for water, prepare cloths, arrange the straw mat. When your grandmother arrives, the baby's head is already visible. You work together. She holds the baby. You hold the mother's gaze. "Breathe with her," she says. And you do. The baby is born small, wrinkled, furious with the world. It cries loudly. You cry inside but keep it hidden. A neighbor offers sesame bread. Someone hands you weak beer. On the way home, your grandmother gives you a smile that feels like an embrace. That was your first real one, she says. You ask how she knows. Because your voice didn't shake. The Temple of Hathor doesn't feel as sacred as you expected. Too many flies for that. The stone courtyard, where priestesses walk barefoot, is hot as fresh-baked bread. The air smells of incense, sweat, and something mysterious, perhaps meant to intimidate outsiders and enchant initiates. Aunt Satsobek sent you here saying, you need to learn what only the goddesses teach. She gave you a cleaner tunic and her amber necklace with an Ujat Aya sign of trust, or a test, or both. The head priestess, Merit, is young, beautiful, and speaks with an infuriating calm. Her movements are so graceful you feel like a clumsy hippo next to her. The temple teaches more than fertility rituals. How to move silently, apply oils to a pregnant woman's skin without her noticing pain, and interpret dreams. Yes, dreams, because women arrive with strange visions of snakes, milk, rising water, and you must decipher what their bodies are saying. In your first month at the temple, you learn to identify herbs by scent. Eyes closed. One smells like mint, but numbs the tongue. Another, like acacia flower, stops minor bleeding. Once you mix them up, the woman who drinks it sleeps for 2 days straight. From then on, you sniff everything 3 times before using it. Merit says the body is a temple too, but sometimes it needs repairs. And repairs hurt. Everything in the temple has a rhythm. Priestesses sing to women in labor simple songs about the Nile, the moon, sacred cows. You learn one that says, the baby knows the way. The mother just needs to remember. Sometimes you sing it to yourself when the screams get too loud. One day, a woman arrives, bleeding heavily. You freeze. Merit doesn't presh. She calls for warm water, fresh papyrus leaves, and works like it's a dance. You watch every move. Afterward, she looks at you and says, learning is seeing before doing. You etch those words deeper than any prayer. Once, they make you clean the stone floor with a damp cloth. You complain you came to learn about births, not scrub marble. Another apprentice, Hainu, shrugs and says, if you don't clean where the mother steps, how will you guide the baby? You have no reply, so you clean. Historians debate whether Hathor's priestesses had real medical roles or just symbolic ones. In the temple, healing and faith blend like water and wine, inseparable. You start noticing signs, a hesitant walk, a hand on the belly, a certain sigh. They betray pregnancy before words do. Merit tests you, pointing to worshippers during rituals. How many months for her? Where's her pain? You get more right than wrong. You begin memorizing. Not on papyrus that's for scribes, but in your mind. The woman who conceived at 50. The girl who birthed twins unknowingly. The one who swore she felt a baby move, though she wasn't pregnant. Each teaches you. Henu shows you a hidden shelf with odd objects. Statues, carved spoons, pottery shards with strange drawings. They belong to ancient midwives who knew things no one understands anymore. One used a bone comb to soothe mothers, just brushing their hair during labor. You laugh, but try it that week. It works. By the 3rd month, the temple lets you attend a full birth without your mentor. Merit watches from a distance. The woman, Satya, is on her 2nd child. Her first was born with the cord around its neck. Tension fills the air. You massage her back, sing the songs, prepare hibiscus and date infusion, and wait for hours. When the baby arrives, the world holds its breath. It cries loudly. You nearly do too, but hold back. Merit hands you a thin copper bracelet. Now your hands know too, she says. You keep it like it's gold. Back in the village, your gaze is different, wider, sharper. Aunt Satsobek smiles when you return. You smell like the temple, she says. You pretend not to understand, but you do. It's a humid morning in Thebes, the kind of heat that clings to your neck before the sun even rises. You've cleaned your tools, washed your hands with mint infusion, and prepared for another day as a midwife. But not every day begins with birth. Some start with silence. Today, you visit a woman who doesn't speak not to her husband, her neighbors, or even her reflection. Her name is Hetty, and her eyes are empty. Hetty isn't pregnant. She has no physical pain, but something is wrong. She refuses to eat or leave her house, saying her body has dried up inside. You haven't learned how to handle this. No herb or potion helps. So, you do what your grandmother did when she didn't know what to do. You sit and wait. You run your fingers over the mat's fabric, listen to the birds outside, and wait. After many visits, Hetty speaks just one sentence. I lost two, and no one saw. You don't ask what. You realize not all pain bleeds. Not all losses are buried with rituals. Some linger under the ribs, pulsing like a quiet, sad drum. Historians debate whether Egyptian women shared their traumas openly or kept them silent. But you see, among women, words aren't always needed. There's presence, outstretched hands, tea offered without questions. That's enough. After Hetty, others come women who've lost babies, who bleed endlessly, who carry the weight of hard choices and judgmental stares. You notice another side of your work, caring not just for the body that gives birth, but for the soul that bears it. A young woman named Beckett arrives, cloaked in shame. There was no birth, just a scare. You examine her gently, with respect. Before giving advice or remedies, you hold her hands firmly and say, "You're still whole, even if it doesn't feel like it." She cries. For the first time in weeks, she sleeps. You start keeping a special basket for these visits. Instead of birth cloths, it holds bay leaves, warm stones wrapped in linen, and a blue beaded necklace said to ward off nightmares. Some women ask you to sing. Others want you to stay. One asks you to whisper kind words, like a made-up mother. It feels odd at first, but then you understand it's just another way to comfort. You create your own rituals, small and secret. You write a woman's confessed pain, guilt, loss, anger in a pottery shard and bury it by the pomegranate tree, a symbolic way to lay invisible burdens to rest. During this time, you dream of water, not the Nile, but still, heavy water, as if you're beneath it, straining to hear a whispering world above. You wake tired but alive, strangely lighter. Your grandmother notices. You're starting to see with inner eyes, she says. You don't fully grasp it but accept the praise. One day, a woman offers a trade. You help her with her pain, and she embroiders you a cloak. It takes weeks. When she delivers it, it's simple cotton with small stars stitched along the edges. So you remember you need to sleep too, she says. You laugh, a crooked laugh, because sleep has become rare. You're tending to more women with fears than with children's from fleeing husbands, others themselves. They start calling you a soul healer. You pretend not to hear, but deep down, you like it. One day, you find a group of women gathered in silence, like a circle. In the center, a young woman with a swollen belly knot from pregnancy, but an old, untreated infection. You act fast, calling for towels, boiling water, using an ancient ointment you've only tried once. She survives. The group looks at you with reverence. No one says thank you, but they touch your arm, a small, full gesture. Your name is spreading, not just as a midwife, but as a woman who listens, who holds, who doesn't judge. You've become a keeper of stories, a witness to silent truths. Time moves slowly along the Nile's banks, and quietly, you become known. Not with fame or gold, but with an invisible thread weaving through the women of Thebes, tying one story to another, all leading to your name. You feel it when you enter a home and they offer you a seat before you ask, or when someone calls you the one who listens with her hands. There's no ceremony to become a master. One day, you simply notice no one calls you an apprentice anymore, not even your grandmother. Aunt Satsebek now watches while you lead. She still corrects you occasionally, with that mix of critique and affection only wise elders master. You cut the cord too soon. Again, she says. You smile and accept it, comforted by her presence. Your first solo birth comes during a rare Theban storm. The sky weighs on the roofs, and mud coats your sandals before you turn the first corner. The woman, Naya, is in labor. Her nervous fisherman husband paces, more hindrance than help. You take a deep breath, ask him to leave, and for the first time, he obeys without protest. Naya groans, sweat streaming down her face. You sing the slow song you learned from Merit at Hathor's temple. The baby arrives, a tiny pink tadpole, alive and crying fiercely. You hand it to Naya, and for a moment, the storm outside seems to pause here. Maybe it's just the light inside the house. The husband returns, sees them, and cries. You want to laugh, but don't. You grip Naya's shoulders and whisper, "You did this." She smiles, exhausted but whole. In the following days, women seek you out not just for births, but for advice. Awkward questions, blessings. A girl named Nefru gives you an amulet to touch before her wedding, saying it brings luck. You do, with exaggerated importance to make her laugh. It works. You laugh too. People start calling you names you didn't choose. Mother of the village, voice of the goddess, the one who heals with a glance. A bit much? Maybe. But you feel a spark of pride when children run to you just to show a lost tooth or offer dried flowers wrapped in papyrus as payment. Some men disapprove, saying you talk too much, that women have grown bold since listening to you. A merchant even claims you're ruining other men's wives with ideas of independence. You raise an eyebrow and reply, slow and deep, "Yes, exactly." He never brings it up again. Your grandmother smiles when she hears the story. "You're ready," she says, her gaze softer than usual. You reply simply, "I know." She doesn't correct you after that. You resume an old habit, writing, not sacred hieroglyphs or ritual texts, but simple notes about the women you've helped, their births, their quirky words, the way they gripped your hand at the end. Like young Tia, only 14, who kept saying, "It won't fit," until her baby was born and it did. You store these papyrus scraps in a clay box with a lid. Your grandmother calls them things no one will read. You call them things I can't forget. You start teaching. A young girl named Heba asks to join your visits. She's clumsy, drops everything, talks endlessly, but listens and looks at women with sincere eyes. You see a faint reflection of your younger self in her, and take her under your wing. With Heba, you relive your own training. Your grandmother's words slip from your mouth, her gestures, even her impatient sigh when something goes wrong. "You're becoming her," Heba says. You reply, "Good." One day, Aunt Satsubek falls ill, not gravely, but you notice she's become smaller, lighter, almost absent. Her eyes are distant, her hands slow. You prepare her teas with the same care as always, but now with the daughter's tenderness, not an apprentice's. She sleeps a lot, waking to share stories of her youth, some new, some repeated. You listen anyway, knowing your roots help you understand where you stand. On quiet nights, you sit by her and sing, not for her, but for yourself. The music steadies you, ties your memories like paper boats ready to drift down the river. When she passes, with a serene smile facing east, you know without doubt, you're ready for what comes next. You don't just carry her name, you carry her story. That keeps your soul whole. Thebes mornings still arrive with golden light, muffled bird calls, and the smell of warm clay and faint smoke from kitchens. But now, each morning feels quieter, more spacious, as if the world has given you extra room to breathe. You wake slower, walk calmer, and realize you have Timino-free time, but a new rhythm. Your rhythm. You're the midwife, others name without hesitation, the teacher young girls seek, the figure elders respect. You're invited to rituals beyond your old world. Plantings, weddings, farewells. Women call you not just for births, but for endings. You've become a bridge. Heba stays with you, less clumsy now. When she delivers her first baby alone, you watch from the doorway. She sings your song, uses your gestures, but adds her own ending. You smile, she's found her path. One morning, she brings you a baby to hold, with round eyes and a tiny mouth, born with a cry sweet as honey. The baby stares at you with absurd seriousness, as if it knows you. "Why is he looking at me like that?" you ask. Heba replies, "Because you're the start of so much." True, but you're also the middle and, sometimes, the end. You build a small space behind your house, just for women, a courtyard with shade, a bowl of dates, a jug of cool water. No questions, no demands. Some come to sit, others to talk, some to cry, a few to sleep against the wall. You don't ask why, you just offer the space. That's your deepest lesson: to give without expecting, to be without demanding, to love without drama. You collect small things now not as trophies, but as reminders. A milk tooth wrapped in linen from a grateful child, a strand of your grandmother's white hair tucked between papyrus, a ceramic button inscribed with rebirth, a gift from a priestess you helped after a miscarriage. You laugh more at your wrinkles, your aching knees, your voice cracking when you're moved. You laugh when Heba botches a barley recipe 3 times. "It'll make a fine ointment at least," you say, laughing loudly. The nights grow cooler with age. You settle into habits, the same bench, the same sleeping position, the same tea before silence. But now, you don't fear dreams anymore. The old nightmare Spain, loss, muffled cry shaves softened. What remains is light, weightless, floating. One night, you dream of your grandmother on a papyrus boat, laughing at something you can't hear, gliding on a Nile wider than any you've seen. Even in the dream, you know she's free. You wake with tears, but no pain, a sweet feeling, like an embrace. During a birth, a mother grips your hand and says, "I was scared, but then I thought of you." You smile and reply, "I was scared too, my whole life." But now you know fear comes and goes, like pain, like night, like everything. You teach this to your apprentices, not with words, but with gestures, eyes, presence. One afternoon, alone, you pick up your old bronze mirror, worn and speckled but still reflecting. You study it for long minutes. The face isn't the curious girl's or the restless young woman's. It's the face of someone who's seen time pass and stayed standing a tree in the desert. Historians debate whether ancient Egyptian midwives were revered or marginalized. But in your star-stitched cotton cloak, with your hair neatly tied and your name whispered by so many, you know. The papyrus records don't matter. You lived fully, with purpose, with love. The day's final image is simple. You, sitting in your courtyard shade, a warm tea between your hands, listening to the unhurried world. The sun dips, shadows stretch like lazy cats, and someone sings an old song in the distance. You don't catch every word, but you feel its heart, a hymn to life, your life. The cycle closes. You've taught, healed, lost, loved. Above all, you've endured. Time will move on without you, but it will never be the same because you were here. Now that the story is told, with every word carefully placed, it's time to rest. Let your body settle, your mind slow. Everything to be remembered, lived, or imagined has happened. You, who walk through temple shadows and Thebes' dusty streets, have completed the journey. Lie down. Close your eyes gently. Nothing demands your attention now. No births await, no women call for help, no babies need cradling. No lamplights burn, no rush through mud corridors, no baskets of herbs by the door. It's all behind you. You're alone with your breath steady, familiar, like a distant river flowing slowly over smooth stones. Everything is calm now. Picture the Nile, not its strength, but its stillness, stretching across the land, as if in no hurry to arrive. Each curve it makes is a gesture of care. The Nile doesn't rush, it walks. And now, you walk with it, or rather, you float. See the river's banks at dusk, golden light resting on the palms, the soft sound of oars brushing the surface. A small reed boat drifts, empty, dancing as if searching for its name. Let your thoughts fade in this rhythm, like the sky turning slowly into a starlit veil. The midwife's story in Thebes is done, but her subtle, deep marks remain. You carried baskets of warm cloths and faint perfumes, crushed herbs with your fingers, mixed infusions with precise gestures. You sat beside trembling women, guiding them back to themselves. You heard hearts, listened to silences, helped life cross the invisible threshold. You did it all with care, humility, without haste, knowing urgency has no place in birth, love, or death. Yes, you also learn to bury, to say goodbye, because life isn't just beginnings, it's cycles, returns. Now, with nothing left to do, rest gently, with trust. Let Aunt Satsabek's image dissolve like sand in the Brisanot with sorrow, but with sweetness. She did what she needed. So did you. Picture your bronze mirror, resting on a clean straw mat, reflecting the light of a lamp lit just for you. See your face, there calm, mature, whole. No doubts linger, only acceptance, the quiet beauty of someone who's walked a long road. Recall your first birth, the uncertainty, sweaty hands, the song that slipped from your throat like a prayer you didn't know you knew. It's a light memory now, like an old perfume in an alabaster jar, returning with the breeze to remind you you were there. Think of the women, so many, with different eyes, halting stories, silent fears. You saw them, touched them, heard what no one else did. Now they rest in peace, because you existed, because you cared. There's no rush to forget or cling to these images. They'll come and go like the river's waters, patient as the gods. Let them drift like leaves falling from a tree, fearless, with no set destination. The words can go too, slowly, one by one. They've done their work, painted the scenes, brought the past to your pillow. Now they can rest. Perhaps a whisper remains, a phrase echoing softly. You don't need to understand everything. Just be, and you are with presence, courage, heart. Feel the night's coolness, the blanket over you, the gentle weight of calm. Exhaust you not from struggle, but from living deeply. No more characters, no more past, just this moment, this breath, this pause between now and sleep. If a thought still stirs, embrace it. Tell it all as well, that it too can rest. It's not time to think or decide. It's time to dream, to let time slip away. Everything has been tended, everything has been healed, everything is complete. And now, dear traveler, surrender to the soft darkness approaching. It's not a threat, it's an embrace, a veil over the world, the mother of all rest. Good night, sleep well. If you dream of the Nile, may it be calm. If you dream of voices, may they be gentle. And if you dream of yourself, may you be smiling.